Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another Honkai Star Rail reaction. Today we have the Irontomb boss theme, all phases of it. Of course, Pompom's Workstation has all of them in their usual, like, stitched together format, so I'm going to be getting to this one, and a lot of people wanted me to get to this one, so I'm not going to have a specific person pop up on screen like usual, because damn, everyone wanted this one. So that's what I'm doing today, and without further ado, let's go! Ooh, okay. I mean, setting the tone right away, as per usual, honestly, with boss themes. Ooh, nice dissonance in there. I hope you don't mind me saying this is an I can be your angle or your devil sound design. That's not an insult. It's just kind of funny. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, okay. Never mind. Change up. Completely different time signature. God, they're really doing a lot with this one. And calm it down a little. Hell yeah. Oh, God. Ah, that drum part was wild. This is one hell of a first phase. Whoop. And where are we going now? The angle and the devil are converging. The unholy black hole. I need to stop. Ooh. Oh, I love that shift to the, like, EDM here. Changing the aesthetic of the song to match the aesthetic of the character. Jesus Christ. Okay. I love that vocal line. That's so neat that they brought that back. It's tying it all together. Speaking of, see, this might be story spoilers, but I don't play Star Rail, so no worries on my side. They're doing a really good job at, like, mashing the new sound they introduced with the song that came first. And evolving it, like, they keep adding little new things. Better be sick. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah. Kinda sick. I know what those numbers mean, though, as per some lore I've learned. So they kind of like reset the universe here then. Oh, that's sick. Again, borrowing from that prior version. Is that a giant woman? Hell yeah. Oh. Oh, the shift here. That adjustment to the mood is sick. Whew. Oh, that was a dirty little crank on that synth there. Original Sin's Source of Cognicide is one hell of a title. Oh, they're even doing neat vocal technique things. Ooh. Oh, man. Oh, man. Marco Meatball must have had, hey, look, Marco, he must have had a ball with this song. No way. All right, so there's a bunch I want to go over with this video. I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to actually go over just because I'll be yapping forever, but I'll just start from the beginning and work my way through as per usual. So the first part, sick as hell. It threw me off when it came in with the other time signatures, and that's probably just to signify like things going against the grain, going wrong maybe. There's just some sort of disconnect in the music when a song goes into something like having a different time signature. It's supposed to signify something of that sort. Maybe not 100%, but usually there's something a little bit wrong here, and that makes sense with a boss theme having that in there just to throw it off a little bit more. Like, you thought you were comfortable in that 4/4 rhythm. No, you're not. You know, just like check yourself. There's a lot more to do here and a lot more at stake. And I think that that's what that's signifying. And there's other cool stuff going on too, like the male vocal that came in there too. I actually wasn't sure at first when I first heard that if it was a like canned vocal performance or synthesized. Something about it felt a little bit too clean. There are brilliant vocalists out there, don't get me wrong, but also it felt a little bit too clean. I feel like that's probably just because of production in hindsight, because the vocalists later kind of proved to me that they definitely had custom work going on in here, but I wasn't so sure because it was so clean. But then I'm like, oh yeah, it would make sense if they want that to be like a transitional moment, to have a character that's clean, bringing you in from that comfort to that discomfort, kind of bridging a gap harmonically up at the top there. So again, just really neat stuff when it comes to how they're writing this and how they're trying to direct the flow of the listener into the next part and be able to connect all of those little bits together. And moving into the second part, that was neat all on its own because it kind of became its own thing. Like I said, it was neat that they transitioned from this other sound entirely, going from kind of a more prog metal approach to like deep house. Like the completely different genre, really had not much going on in common, but again, showcasing a difference in mood and intent in the music. There's a completely different scene opening up in front of us with that, so it's just like interesting to see how they were handling that by bringing in a completely new genre and shifting the entire vibe of the music to match that, and then trying to tie that back with similar vocal things like that first one had, and again, just kind of bridging that gap there. Again, it was just really nice like narrative storytelling in the music, just to have all of that kind of make sense as you go along, something familiar from the prior part to kind of reconnect you to that segment and make sure that you haven't forgotten where you started. And even though they did completely get rid of the sound from that first first part, I think that also makes sense. It's kind of challenging you in that way. So it's like, okay, you started here, now we're here. How'd you like that change up? It's not the same thing anymore. We're not dealing with the same stress anymore. I hope you're awake. You know, it's just a little bit of a shock to the system. So when they did that, I love it because I love that genre as well, as much as I do rock. So it's just like, ooh, okay, they're getting fancy with it and messing things around and making sure that the story is not lost in the sauce of the music. And when they did all these other like vocal things in here, like that choir came in and they expanded on those vocals, I'm like, okay, there's evolution going on here. There's more to be seen. What's going to happen next? How big is this going to get? I've talked about this before, but when there's a choir involved, that means that the scale is improving. It's getting bigger. Things are happening that you never would have expected before. You don't know what's going to happen next. You just know that there's more people involved. For this one with the visuals, they are definitely helping me out here. You can tell that that scale is scaling up to more of like from a like world or like minor scale comparatively. Now we're going to like planetary or galactic scale, and it's like, okay, things are really starting to build up real quick, and you don't know how far that scale may go, even though, again, story-wise, even though I don't know the story, all of it, I've gotten little nuggets of information over the time I've done coverage for these songs, and I'm able to know that this is definitely like a universal scale. So I knew that we were going to keep going and keep building. I just didn't know how they were going to involve the other sounds going forward. And then when we got into the third section, it evolved on that even more. Things did kind of take a step back. There was a difference to that. There was this moment where you had to break through the metaphysical wall, in some ways kind of literally there, and just, you know, introduce this new sound. And again, they simplified things here, where like the first part was simple and then it got complex, and then it shifted emotion and complete vibe in there. It was a completely different song. By the time that third shift came around, or the third part of this song came around, and it was doing something again completely different, but they backed off a lot. They simplified a lot. They went back to like the core bare bones, and that's exactly what the song was trying to convey. They're in a scenario where they need to go back to the basics. They need to get rid of all the other stuff, all of the other confusion happening in the music. So they did that here. They got rid of everything else. They went to that solo vocalist, made sure that they were extremely pronounced. And again, story-wise, that makes a lot of sense since we have this character here, forgive me for not knowing her name, just giant woman shows up and it's like, okay, time to take the place of a god, it seemed. And it's like, okay, so now we know what's happening there and why that soloist is important in the music. And again, it's all making sense. And that last section is kind of why I was like, oh yeah, Marco's gonna have fun with this one. If he knows anything about vocal technique, which I know he does, he probably put together that that's open throat singing. And that's really fucking cool. Just like, of course, open throat singing isn't anything new, but open throat singing is so specific, and for this scenario is very interesting because its whole concept is being relaxed and being completely wide open to the changes happening around it. In order to do open throat singing, you need to slack your jaw, you need to open your throat and not have any sort of restriction in there. It has to be a completely seamless tube out your mouth. It's very difficult to like truly get down. You can definitely learn it if you pay attention to how to do it, but it's also entirely focused around controlling the air that you're taking in. It needs big, slow intakes of air so you can get these big, powerful outbursts of energy in the voice and be able to control all of that sound. It also allows you to control the tonality in your throat a lot more, which is why she was able to do some of these like vocal gymnastic things in here and just have that huge, larger than life sound. The part that really got me was I believe that they were using a vocal tapping at that one spot. It's basically exactly this, the you don't have to try to do anything wrong with that. You just kind of tap where your Adam's apple would be, and it just and how aggressive you do that kind of changes the tone. And I think that's what they were doing at that certain point, which is again an interesting technique to use. I don't think there's any other way to do that naturally without throat tapping. I could be wrong, I'm not a professional vocalist, but at the same time it felt like you could kind of hear the taps, and so there you go. It's just it's a cool technique to use. And why they did vocal tapping there, I'm not entirely sure if it was just ornamental, like they just thought it would sound cool so they threw it in there, or if there was some deeper reasoning that they wanted that technique specifically to be utilized there, or have that sort of like a pause in the song. There really could be like a narrative reason to have those certain vocal stops in the song to like represent something else going on in this transition of power that's happening. Maybe that's what it was supposed to convey. But also it's just kind of a neat thing that you don't hear too often, because most of the time it doesn't really make sense to do it. It's not a common technique for standard vocals. You hear it a lot in like beatboxing, but that's a completely different sort of vocal process. It's not really singing, it's a completely different concept. So when you get down to that, it's like, why did you choose to do vocal tapping here? There were some other really fun, like little, I believe maybe Indian style vocal effects that they were adding here. I've talked about gamakas before recently. There was a video I talked about them because I'm pretty sure that they were used in like Artonelico or some other property like that. But having those in there and having those just in general, those ornamentations is so interesting to me, because they always have a reason. They always have a purpose, whether it's just to sound cool or to really convey something specific in the music, which is more often why gamakas are used specifically. It's just, why? You know, why then? Why there? This was a really cool evolution, and getting to hear this like jumping between these different genres and all these different approaches to the sound in order to take you through that story. It was super clean. It just made sense, and I was able to follow the story better because I had the visuals on screen. But this is one of those times where I don't think I would have needed it. I think I would have felt that scale building up this whole time through. I would have gotten those very clear separations of which phase is what, and maybe not exactly what's happening in the story, but it does make sense to the scale of power and the transition of power, like I said. So again, really fucking cool here. And I'm sure, again, that Marco had a great time with the vocal skill in this one, because that was gorgeous amongst everything else. But I think I'm going to call it there. So thank you all so very much for watching. If you have another song from Honkai Star Rail you want me to get to, by all means, drop it in the comments below, and I will do my best as always to get to those. Or if you don't want to do any of that, and maybe you just want to follow me and support me for more stuff coming in the future, you know how to do all that. And I will see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!